You've probably seen it in movies: a rolled-up bill, a mirror, a word that means danger, addiction, ruined lives. But cocaine didn't start in a nightclub bathroom. It started on a mountainside, 4,000 years ago, in the hands of people who had no idea what it would become. Let's go back. High in the Andes Mountains of South America, indigenous communities were chewing the leaves of a small green shrub, not to get high, to survive. The thin air up there makes it hard to breathe, hard to work, hard to think. But this plant changed that. It dulled hunger. It eased altitude sickness. It gave tired bodies a little more strength for one more hour of labor. That plant was coca. For thousands of years, coca leaves stayed exactly where they belonged, wrapped in local ritual, respected, not abused. Incan priests offered coca to their gods. Farmers chewed it during long days in the fields. It was medicine. It was culture. It was normal. Then, in 1860, a German chemist named Albert Niemann did something that would change everything. He isolated the active ingredient inside the coca leaf. He gave it a name: cocaine. And once it was extracted from the leaf, purified, concentrated, it stopped being a mild stimulant chewed slowly over hours. It became something far more powerful, far more dangerous. Doctors in Europe were fascinated. One of them was a young neurologist in Vienna named Sigmund Freud. Yes, that Freud. Long before he became famous for psychoanalysis, he was obsessed with cocaine. He used it himself. He prescribed it to friends. He wrote a paper praising it as a wonder drug, a cure for depression, exhaustion, even morphine addiction. He was wrong, badly wrong. One of his own patients, a close friend, became severely addicted after Freud recommended cocaine to help him quit morphine. Freud watched his friend spiral into psychosis. It was one of the first documented cases of cocaine dependency in modern medicine. But by then, the drug was already loose in the world. In 1886, an Atlanta pharmacist named John Pemberton created a new beverage. He mixed coca leaf extract with cola nut. He called it Coca-Cola. For its first 2 decades on shelves, the drink genuinely contained trace amounts of cocaine. It was marketed as a tonic, a pick-me-up, a cure for headaches and fatigue. Think about that for a second. One of the most recognizable brands on Earth was born from the same plant that would later fuel a global public health crisis. By the early 1900s, doctors and lawmakers started noticing the damage: addiction, paranoia, violence. The United States passed the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act in 1914, and cocaine's era as a legal tonic ended almost overnight. For a while, it faded from public life. Then the 1970s and 80s happened. Powdered cocaine became the drug of Wall Street traders, movie stars, late-night parties. It was expensive. It was glamorous, at least on the surface. But underneath that glamour, cartels in Colombia were building an empire. Pablo Escobar alone was estimated to be smuggling staggering quantities of cocaine into the United States every single month, generating a fortune that made him one of the richest criminals in history. And then came crack, a cheaper, smokable form of cocaine that hit poor urban communities like a wave. It didn't just addict individuals. It reshaped policy, reshaped prisons, reshaped an entire generation's relationship with the justice system. So here's the strange part. The same molecule that helped an Incan farmer survive a long day at high altitude eventually helped tear apart cities, families, and entire economies on another continent. The plant never changed. Human ambition did. We took something slow, natural, and balanced by centuries of ritual, and we concentrated it, industrialized it, and let it loose without the guardrails that had kept it in check for 4,000 years. And that's really the pattern behind almost every drug crisis in human history. It's rarely the plant itself. It's what happens when a chemist purifies it, a businessman monetizes it, and a society isn't ready for what that power really means. You've probably seen it in movies, a rolled-up bill, a mirror. But now you know what's really rolled up inside that story. 4,000 years of history, one accidental discovery, and a lesson about power that we still haven't fully learned.